McGinney Branch Farm is a tilapia farm located about 20 minutes west of Montgomery, Alabama. We grow tilapia commercially for the food fish industry as well as the sport fish industry. I've been doing it for about 13 years. My name's Stephen Lewis. I'm the owner-operator of a tilapia farm located about 20 miles west of Montgomery, Alabama. Our farm is approximately 500 acres in size. It's been in our family since the 70s. It's been everything from a commercial dairy to row crop farming, and we started fish farming when I got out of Auburn University back in the early 90s. So the farm was given to us by my grandfather. My family lives here on the farm. My parents live in Montgomery, Alabama, but it is basically a family operation, and I don't think we've ever hired a bit of labor to run this operation. It's all been family labor. A typical morning in the wintertime here on the fish farm usually starts with checking the tanks. You want to go down and make sure your blowers are working correctly, your wells pumping out the right amount of water, and you generally want to get all your fish that might have died in the night out of the tanks. Typically we don't have a lot of mortality through the winter. A good winter, you probably only lose 2 to 3% of fish that are held in the tanks. Bad winter, 10%. So we generally hold anywhere from 10 to 15,000 pounds of fish and probably, I think, around 25,000 gallons of water. And you'll have a flow rate of coming from a well of about 80 gallons a minute divided into 4 tanks. So 20 gallons a minute, continual flow. 24/7. Water comes out of the ground at 72 degrees, so that keeps them happy as long as the power doesn't go out. So in the spring of the year, when it's time to stock my cages, I'll seine this pond. Seining is drawing a net through a pond. About a 100-foot net. You'll pull it through the pond using just manpower because the pond's small enough that 2 people can generally pull the net. Those fish will come into tanks. I'll move them using the tractor once again, dump them into a tank up at the barn. Then I grade through them. You'll size the fish using graders, which are like bar type graders. You dump fish through. Bigger fish can't swim through. You sort them by size and then try to get them out in the cages pretty soon after that, because once you've handled them and they're in tanks, they don't do too well. But as soon as you can get them back out into the lake and where they have a nice bloom to feed on, tilapia are filter feeders. They're feeding off the zooplankton and the phytoplankton in the pond. So the sooner you can get them to a good, healthy environment for them, the better they do. So we try to move them immediately. I've learned over the years that the less abuse they take going in the wintertime, the happier they'll be. The fewer scales they lose, the healthier they'll stay. So there's disease problems, most of which are pretty easily managed if you treat for external parasites. But tilapia, since they're not a native species to this area, there's never been any really disease issues with them because the various viruses and bacterial problems just haven't evolved because the fish is from another part of the world. So most of that's not a problem, just the external worms and parasites, which you can easily manage with chemicals. I grew for the commercial food fish industry for about 10 years, in which I was growing about 30,000 to 40,000 pounds of fish a year, having them hauled commercially to Atlanta, Georgia. But I've sort of shifted gears and I'm more in the commercial end of the sport fish end of it now, where I grow them to sell to various sport fish ponds and lakes in the immediate area. Another good aspect of selling to the commercial sport fish industry is that you can use some chemicals for parasite control that you're not allowed to use on food fish, so it's a little easier to keep them healthy. There's a lot of antibiotics you just can't use and then sell them to the food fish industry. It's typical farming. Just got to keep things in running order and have a guy on standby that knows how to fix wells, and we'll get there when you need him, because you can't be something he says he can wait a couple days on. Most power outages, most problems occur at the worst possible time. It'd be a Sunday morning or a New Year's Eve, or I've had wells go out the day before Christmas. And, You know, you got to have reliable people that'll come when they say they're going to come and do the job they need to do. So it's going to happen, believe me. If you've got fish in a tank, there'll be times when you need people there to help you. It's not just a one-man operation. So.